In February 2026, retired Major General William Neil McCasland vanished from his Albuquerque home.
This is April. How may I help you?
Hi, April. My name is Susan Wilkerson. My husband is missing.
Okay.
And it's been about 3 hours.
Leaving behind his phone, his clothes, and even his shoes.
He must have planned not to be found. He's left his phone. He changed his clothes into I don't know what. I think he's on foot.
Yet he took with him a .38 caliber revolver and was never seen or heard from again.
Does he carry any weapons on him?
Well, not generally.
Crucially, McCasland disappeared just a week after President Trump ordered the immediate release of the government's so-called alien files.
President Trump says he is directing the Pentagon to open files on aliens and UFOs.
But why now?
And although the internet joked about seeing ET before GTA 6, the reality behind Neil's disappearance was truly dark. An investigation by a shadowy website called the Sentinel Network would link his disappearance to a disturbing pattern of more than a dozen missing or dead scientists and military personnel, all tied to the same space secrets.
5 of them went missing. 6 of them were dead. Of those 6, 2 of them were murdered.
Chavez, age 79, was last seen leaving his New Mexico home on foot, leaving behind his car, wallet, phone, and keys. Casias, age 54, was last seen on camera walking alone on a highway, also without her wallet, phone, or keys.
She was about 30 feet behind that person she was hiking with, smiling and waving. He turned around. Next thing you know, she was just completely gone.
Prichard killed his wife, placed her body into the trunk of their car.
The officer reports seeing a vehicle parked there with the trunk open. When the officer approached, police state a man was laying on the ground, a handgun nearby.
Jaymee Gustitus was dead upstairs. Officers were here for nearly 40 minutes, and not once did they go inside her home.
The scene where Amy was found, there were once again inconsistencies. She was right-handed. The gun was found on the left side of her body.
Nothing was known about the shooter, whom police have since revealed made a disturbing sound during the massacre.
Some witnesses said he said nothing. There are some that say he made a barking noise. Don't ask me. I don't know why.
Because McCasland was no ordinary retiree. He had spent decades working in America's most secretive programs.
A former commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory, the organization responsible for advanced military technology and science. Base that he once led, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, is historically linked to Project Blue Book. This is the reported U.S. military's official investigation into UFO sightings.
He was someone that Congressman Tim Burchett described as the ultimate gatekeeper of the government's UFO secrets.
He's the guy that was had a lot of nuclear secrets and was allegedly the gatekeeper, and I've been told by several sources that he was the gatekeeper for the UFO stuff.
And as head of the Air Force Research Laboratory, he allegedly oversaw the retrieval of alien spacecrafts and life forms that had crashed to Earth.
General Neil McCasland ran the whole joint. He told Tom DeLonge that during the Cold War, the United States found a life form, an alien life form, and that he retrieved and oversaw the retrieval of alien spacecraft.
But what McCasland's disappearance exposed might just be history's most lethal cover-up, a secret so dangerous it reportedly cost American presidents their lives.
This is the head of the CIA, MJ1.
Going against the president's wishes of finding out more.
Which we cannot allow. If that was in '63, he was dead 1 month later in Dallas.
And even now, it continues to threaten the lives of leaders all over the world.
Now, I got told by people very close to the Trump camp that in his first administration, he was going to make a disclosure about UAPs. But the commander-in-chief of the US military was scared of his own government. He became aware that there are forces inside the US government that frankly would and have killed to protect this secret.
Even as the House Oversight Committee exposed decades of government secrets, revealing to the public for the first time that they actually did possess UFOs and alien bodies.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human.
From here, scientists and whistleblowers would continue to vanish. But whether the trail of deaths and disappearances was caused by humans...
Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes, personally.
Aliens.
So there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
What I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
Or something else entirely still remains unknown. Drawing on declassified government files and insider accounts, this story goes far beyond just UFO sightings.
There is an object that another country has that this object is so big that they had to build a building around it.
I naturally go, when I hear about sort of extra natural phenomenon, that's where I go to, is the Christian understanding that, you know, there's a lot of good out there, but there's also some evil out there. And I think that one of the devil's great tricks is to convince people he never existed.
These are the deepest secrets that governments have allegedly killed people to protect.
Didn't we tell this 3 years ago that we kill people for this? Is she not listening?
So today, we'll be uncovering the murders and disappearances tied to UFOs and aliens all around the world, revealing once and for all the dark, hidden truths from space that the government is trying to bury.
What do you think is happening here, and do you think that this is connected or totally random?
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half.
To them racks, get to that money, I wanna be ballin'. If you fall and break your back, don't worry, you can call Morgan and Morgan. If you've had serious damage to your body or internal organs, and you know it wasn't your fault, then you might have a case, you really might wanna call them. If you're hurt by someone else's negligence, you deserve to be paid 35 years of results, so you can trust them with your case. America's largest injury law firm, but not all law firms are built the same. Don't pick wrong, it's a big mistake, get the wrong law firm and you're out the game. They got more than 1,000 lawyers, so you know that they're ready for battle. With 100 offices nationwide, so take them a case to tackle. They recovered over $30 billion for all their clients, and the fee is free unless you win, so you might want to try them. I want to get to them racks, get to that money, I want to be ballin'. If you fall and break your back, don't worry, you can call Morgan and Morgan. If you've had serious damage to your body or internal organs, and you know it wasn't your fault, then you might have a case, you really might want to call them. You can start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/traplawross. Link in description, or you can scan the QR code on screen using your phone camera. Thanks Morgan & Morgan, back to the video.
Content warning. This video is about a sensitive topic involving loss of life. We've removed any graphic content to comply with YouTube's guidelines. We aim to provide informative, factual journalism on a tragic event in the public interest that does not dismiss its seriousness. All clips are used under the doctrine of fair use for news reporting and analysis. Some points made in this video are opinions and theories. I am not responsible for third-party information. If you want to watch my videos uncut and extended, go to patreon.com/traplawross, where you can get those for just $2. Also, you can now watch my new drops on Spotify, so go search me there. Here's the video. In June 2022, 34-year-old scientist Dr. Catherine Eskridge reportedly life in Huntsville, Alabama. This is a city known as the Rocket City for its major role in sending the first man to the moon. However, nearly 4 years after her death, Amy's business partner Samuel Reed would post a message that reframed everything. He wrote, "I refrained from posting this for 4 years since my co-founder Amy Eskridge was killed." And he closed with saying, "I no longer fear their death threats. God bless you, Amy." And to support his claim, Reed shared screenshots of Amy's messages from the weeks before her death, where she detailed receiving daily threats and explained that it all started after a voice recording she made on her own phone about a major breakthrough in space technology. She would add that she felt she had crossed an invisible line and was now under surveillance after her discovery, going on to confess the terrifying belief that her name had now been placed on a kill list. Perhaps most disturbingly, Amy insisted that if she died, it would not have been by no matter what anyone else would claim. And while reports suggested that she did die from a gunshot wound, she had explicitly told Reed that she would never use her own gun for that use. But Sam Reed was not the only one questioning Amy's death, because before she disappeared, she had shared photos of mysterious burns and scars with colleagues, including former UK intelligence officer Frank Milburn. Moreover, in 2025, journalist Ross Coulthard alleged that Amy was murdered after being targeted with direct energy weapons.
I actually spoke to Amy Eskridge. I don't think she killed. I do think there's a very high likelihood she was murdered. She genuinely feared that somebody was trying to hurt her or kill her. And I've got photographs, harrowing photographs of burns that she allegedly suffered from some kind of directed energy weapon that she believes was directed at her.
And according to him, she'd been studying the same UFO technology that the US government had safeguarded since the 1970s.
It's quite obvious that the United States has been working on anti-gravity right through the 50s, the 60s, and then it all went dark. And the reason it went dark, I think, is because they had a breakthrough and it was all buried.
In a giant cover-up that a 2022 congressional hearing would reveal had actually indeed included murders.
Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes.
Anyone been murdered that you would that you know of?
I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Growing up in Huntsville, Amy understood that city's strategic significance, and she considered it one of the most important cities in the United States.
I'm in Huntsville, Alabama. I know I've said that several times. We're the Rocket City. We're the biggest deal you've never heard of. Von Braun was here and we won the space race.
As well as one of the first places that enemies would target in a war with America.
Huntsville is like the hub. Like, we are number 3 on the first strike launch list. If first strike happens, 3 targets, Huntsville will be one of them. Alabama. This is Alabama, dude, in the deep south. Like, Huntsville is the hub of, if a nuclear weapon is coming to the US from Russia, how are we going to see it? Most importantly, how are we going to shoot it down?
After double majoring in chemistry and biology, she earned master's degrees in electrical engineering, physics, genetic engineering, and nanotechnology. And together with her father, a retired NASA specialist, she entered the secretive world of gravity technology, intentionally conducting her work publicly so her disappearance would be noticed.
I started it as a public-facing persona to disclose anti-gravity technology through, because I told Mark this. If you stick your neck out in public, at least someone notices if your head gets chopped off. If you stick your neck out in private, they will bury you. They will burn down your house while you're sleeping in your bed, and it won't even make the news.
As well as believing that the government would let her continue her research.
He was like, if you haven't had a US government agent come to you and say, stop, shut the f up, stop, shut the f up. If that hasn't happened, they're going to let you do it. They're going to let you do it this time. He said it's been suppressed every other time. This time, they're waiting for someone to publish.
Yet the dangers of this research soon become apparent. During a 2018 presentation, a crowd member would reference the disappearance of another Rocket City scientist, Dr. Ning Li, in what seemed like something of a threat.
So what about the innovator who's afraid of disappearing?
Well, that's a whole nother problem.
Even if you do it in the public, it still don't mean that the inventor won't disappear for lots of reasons.
Like Ning Li.
By 2020, Amy talked about coming home to find her windows had been opened and her belongings had been searched.
Didn't we tell this 3 years ago that we kill people for this? Is she not listening? What is she doing? She's still doing it? What? We told her we were going to kill her 3 years ago. She was gone to work. I noticed the window is still open. I go to work, I leave it open. I come back like an hour later and the window is closed. I walk into our bedroom and my panty drawer has been dug through and there are pairs thrown on the floor so that I will notice that my panty drawer has been dug through.
And she would also detail the direct energy attacks that she alleged that she was experiencing.
I've been typing on this offline computer right here, super sensitive for the past several days, with this window right here to my right. And that window door right there to my left. And I've been, my hands have been burned to hell and back as I've been typing.
With her systems often being eased only when she blocked her windows.
I feel better immediately. Like, my hands still burn because there's damage.
Reinforcing her belief that she was indeed under surveillance and attack.
You can't hack the computer because there's no Wi-Fi card. But you can send microwaves in to get a 3D image of me typing on the keyboard, and you can reconstruct what I'm typing by microwaving me.
Moreover, fellow researcher Mark Sokol witnessed the attacks and described a bowl of popcorn in Amy's hand popping right before one while mysterious vehicles had idled outside.
Yeah, so when she was here, we were sitting on the couch and we had just made popcorn. We were going to watch a movie, and the popcorn in the bowl started to pop again. She started to like scream and vomit. She's telling me they're attacking us, parked across the street in where there was a parking lot. The car was parked not in a parking spot, but like facing the door.
And from here, things only got worse. In Amy's final messages, she would reveal stalkers had been confronting her, apparently with intimate knowledge of the results of her recent MRI scans, and apparently they had even attempted to get her dental records through an Israeli firm. From here, apparently the threats would escalate, and Amy received increasingly psychological and eerie messages which she claimed were instructing her to end using nursery rhymes, while others tried to lure her into isolated areas late at night, which she recognized were apparent attempts to try and stage her death, repeatedly warning everyone around her that if she died, it wouldn't be decision. In her final weeks, Amy would claim that she had recorded a breakthrough discovery on her hacked phone, which she feared put her on a kill list. And after consulting with high-level insiders, including a retired general rumored to be William McCasland himself, she concluded that the danger came not from the government itself, but from private contractors and military companies guarding their billion-dollar profits. Tragically, by June 2022, Amy was dead, just weeks after sending these warnings. And following her death, congressional testimony in 2023 alleged that a private aerospace company had indeed used energy weapons against her and killed her. By October 2025, journalists revealed that Amy had been quickly cremated without even staging an autopsy.
There's a whole lot of unexplained stuff. The difficulty is that her body was apparently cremated shortly after her death. There was no full coronial inquiry. I did make inquiries with local police about why there wasn't going to be a full coronial inquiry, and it was because of the finding.
And confidential sources claimed that the gun used to fire the fatal shot was actually in the wrong hand.
The scene where Amy was found, there were once again inconsistencies. She was right-handed. The gun was found on the left side of her body.
Finally, on April the 18th, 2026, her father would publicly dispute the claims of a murder.
Prichard Eskridge, he did not want to be interviewed, but he told me on the phone, scientists die also, just like other people.
Yet many people online weren't convinced, and the suspicions only continued. But unfortunately, Amy wasn't the only anti-gravity researcher to die under mysterious circumstances in Rocket City. More than 2 decades before Amy Eskridge had entered the field, another scientist in Huntsville, Alabama was already breaking ground. After emigrating from China, Dr. Ning Li quickly established herself as a leading researcher in the city, while throughout the 1990s, she published revolutionary papers focusing on negating gravity, with findings that proposed technologies that could make vehicles hover silently in the air and move at incredible speeds in any direction, just like the rumored UFOs. As her work progressed from theory to application, Li founded AC Gravity to build her inventions herself. However, this drew immediate attention from the US government, and in 2001, she received a $500,000 Pentagon grant that came with strict secrecy conditions, a strategy later cited by Amy Eskridge as typical suppression of technological breakthroughs.
Great data. You apply for more funding to test it more thoroughly, they cancel it. They cancel it. It goes to NASA divestment. It goes to the auction block. People bid on it, and literally scrap metal vendors win the bid and melt it down for scrap metal and sell it.
Consequently, Li's research became both groundbreaking, secret, and highly monitored. By 2003, the public last saw Dr. Li when she presented on the topic of gravity under the close supervision of a high-ranking army official, soon after sending cryptic messages that hinted at a major breakthrough. Yet from here, she disappeared from public life, and it would take more than 20 years to find out what happened to her. Emails sent to her from journalists didn't get any responses, while colleagues insisted she remained active, working on projects that were too classified to speak on. Then, in 2004, Navy pilots off the coast of California reported sightings of wingless, tic-tac-shaped spacecrafts performing maneuvers that actually matched Li's impossible physics.
These 3 videos, released by the Department of Defense, have changed the way many people see what we can't explain.
The moment you mention UFO, immediately what comes to mind are little green men, tinfoil hats. That's not at all what we're dealing with.
As soon as we look down, we see the whitewater, and then we see this little white tic-tac. It's pointing north-south, and it's just going forward, back, left, right.
Fravor says the F-18s began circling, Fravor at 20,000 feet, and the so-called tic-tac only about 50 feet above the surface of the water.
And then it starts coming up at us. We call it 2-circle fight, but it's coming up, I'm coming down. So it literally is aware we're there. There's no doubt, because it mirrored me.
This was something that journalist Ross Coulthard later linked to Lockheed Martin, the world's largest weapons manufacturer, alleging a secret operation hidden by the government and corporate interests.
The Tic Tac is Lockheed Martin technology. Why Are we being lied to?
By 2008, rumors would spread, with physicists claiming that Dr. Li had actually defected to China.
She disappeared for several years. The people at the Pentagon who were in touch with her cannot reach her anymore. She is allegedly back in China, and the Chinese, Red Chinese, are putting a lot of money into these exotic projects.
But the government neither confirmed nor denied that story. By 2018, when Amy was being threatened using Dr. Li's name, Li was a ghost in the Rocket City scientific community. Then, after 20 years of silence in 2021, a brief obituary would reveal out of nowhere that Dr. Li had died peacefully at age 70, astonishingly, without ever leaving Huntsville, Alabama. It took a year and the Huntsville Business Journal tracking down her son to finally uncover the full story of her disappearance. This would reveal that her public absence had actually begun with a tragic accident in 2014 when she was struck by a car on the University of Alabama campus, leaving her with permanent brain damage and an Alzheimer's diagnosis that abruptly ended her groundbreaking career. Tragically, her husband of 46 years had witnessed the crash at the moment of impact, suffered a serious heart attack, and died the following year. This left Li's son George to care for his mother in complete isolation for 6 years. And for a few years, this was the accepted narrative until her own colleagues questioned the official account, because Jim Landreth would point out that neither police nor university records ever documented the accident.
So today I called them. I got through to their records keeper, and he said, no, there is no record of it. And that it was not responded to by them or their departments.
Emphasizing that the 25-mile-an-hour campus limits made such a crash pretty unlikely. Furthermore, discussions in scientific circles would suggest that Li may have been battling cancer, and her colleagues corroborated that her breakthroughs were far more advanced than NASA's projects.
She did make claims that she was getting what she called an AC gravity effect, right? That no one else. Yeah, no one else had gotten those kind of results. She had apparently gone further than NASA had gone with her research.
That's what she claimed, yeah.
While noting that if Li had attempted to patent her discoveries, the government likely would have blocked her.
If she had discovered something, maybe she was going for a patent or some kind of intellectual property rights.
The DoD captures technology that it likes, and makes sure that it doesn't escape into the wild. Even if you don't quell it, you make sure that it stays in-house.
To this day, the details of her research remain classified, and even basic funding information would be withheld by the government. Ultimately though, while Dr. Li's gravity-defying research was being buried in Huntsville, a man at the very top of Lockheed Martin was also not safe once he decided to tell the truth. On May 28, 2018, Dr. James T Ryder reportedly died, yet the only public record of his passing was a sparse Ancestry.com listing noting his name, birthplace in Chicago, parents, and death in California. Despite this, Ryder had spent over 40 years at the heart of America's defense industry, eventually rising to be a vice president of Lockheed Martin, the world's most secretive defense contractor.
There is a place where we imagine the impossible, where the powers of machine and nature become one.
During his tenure, Ryder oversaw the nation's most classified projects, including Skunk Works, Lockheed's division responsible for top-secret aircrafts.
Are any of you willing to name specific gatekeepers within the root cell of the UAP-SAP Federation?
Well, one of them was named Dr. James Ryder at Lockheed.
Moreover, his work laid the technological foundation for NASA's Artemis spacecraft for the 2026 moon mission. Over decades, he earned the trust to access some of the country's deepest secrets, yet few outside of his inner circle knew the full scope of his work. Then, in 2008, Ryder stepped into extremely dangerous territory. At the same time, a small group of senators and intelligence officials had quietly been investigating UFOs, and in his capacity as vice president of Lockheed Martin, Ryder made a startling proposal. When he identified a facility where Lockheed held material from 1950s UFO crashes, offering to turn it over. Importantly, the facility was linked to the roots of UFO secrecy, which many people trace back to Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, where US Army forces recovered strange debris, first calling it a flying disc, before quickly retracting the statement and claiming that it was from a secret balloon project.
Well, the whole thing started in July 2nd, 1947. That was the first crash.
First crash of an alien spaceship.
Of an alien spaceship. July 6th is when they recovered it and sent it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. July 7th is when they held the press conference and told the people it was a weather balloon, which the press bought hook, line, and sinker.
Over the years, some whistleblowers have suggested the material wasn't just balloon wreckage, but evidence of non-human technology that the government had then attempted to reverse engineer.
I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program.
Consequently, Roswell became a turning point, leading to a classification system that was so secret, entire programs were hidden from public oversight.
We can say that the recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any department of the United States.
And according to whistleblowers, even from presidents themselves,
I just don't see any reason why our government should be hiding it, and I don't like going into a meeting and an elected bureaucrat tells us that the president is on a need-to-know basis. To me, that should be very telling to America that there's a lot more going on this behind the scenes and we're aware.
So it was this material that was originally controlled by the CIA's science division, with Ryder's request to access it being personally blocked by the division's director. According to reports, it was one of the few times in decades that Ryder actually feared for his life. 3 months later, he had officially retired from Lockheed Martin. Yet after retiring in 2011, Ryder made a choice that may have cost him dearly. Rather than stepping aside quietly, he began funding private research, and by 2017 he was speaking publicly about evidence of aliens that spanned tens of thousands of years.
The top there are lots of beings. I don't know what to call them. I can't call them humans. Lots of beings, things, look like alive. They have eyes and noses. They sure look like some of the space people you see in UFOs sometimes. You'll see more of those. And below that, there are all these drawings. And if you're a UFO enthusiast of that type, there's your first UFO, 42,000 years ago.
In one revealing account, he even described a UFO encounter.
Oh, that's right, working in a forest.
In a forest, yeah.
And where the investigators were sent to really go study it, because it was still there. And to their surprise, they did see a bright object that appeared like a UFO. And they tried to touch it and reported it was metal.
These are scientists.
These are highly trained technical people. What I did in that case is ask the question to the investigators, go back and ask them a different question. Don't ask them if they touched and felt metal. Ask them, did they feel like there was a pressure on their hand, and did the pressure get greater? What they felt was that the closer they got their hand to the light, the more resistance, until they reached the point that the light was glowing around their hand and they could not make their hand go any further.
Claiming that they used telepathic communication to transfer thoughts between minds, and suggesting that that was a real thing.
Is there telepathy? Absolutely, I know there's telepathy. It works just fine. My friends who did some of the other things, and now their work's been published, and they did the first work some 40 years ago. Dr. Puthoff's one, Dr. Targ, who's worked for me for years, is another one. It's fun being able to say these things.
After decades in secrecy, Ryder told an audience how liberating it felt to finally speak freely. But tragically, just 1 month after that talk, Ryder was dead. His Ancestry.com obituary listed no cause of death, and there were no public tributes after 40 years of working in Lockheed Martin. He received no recognition in scientific journals, no alumni notice from his university where he earned all 3 of his degrees. He just passed away a month after speaking publicly about alien technology, and that was the end of the conversation. In June 2022, NASA took a huge step that would have seemed unimaginable just years earlier. At that moment, the agency announced it would formally study UFOs, signaling that the conversation could no longer be ignored. And then by July 2023, attention would shift to Washington, where 3 military veterans delivered explosive testimony during a historic congressional hearing. First, former UAP task force lead David Grush alleged secret government programs existed that had recovered non-human crafts and even alien bodies.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Next, retired Commander David Fravor described the 2004 Tic Tac encounter, an event that defied known physics.
The controller told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space.
Meanwhile, pilot Ryan Graves reported seeing strange objects almost daily off the Atlantic coast.
After upgrades were made to our jet's radar systems, we began detecting unknown objects operating in our airspace. During a training mission in Warning Area Whiskey 72, 10 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, 2 F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter.
To Together, they warned that these objects posed risks to flight safety and national security, and additionally claimed that whistleblowers faced retaliation for exposing the truth.
I call it administrative terrorism. That's their quiver, their tool in the toolbox to silence people, especially, the career government service cares about their career, cares about their clearance, their reputation to climb the ladder. And when you threaten that career path, a lot of people back off.
Then, just 4 days later, under the cover of the ongoing media storm, a 59-year-old NASA scientist named Michael David Hicks would die quietly in California.
At the time, his death barely made headlines. But now, nearly 3 years later, there is renewed interest in what happened to Michael David Hicks. Why? Hicks, a NASA scientist who spent decades studying asteroids and deep space, died in 2023 at the age of 59. No public cause of death has ever been released.
But importantly, Hicks was no minor figure, as he had just spent 25 years at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the center that built and operated America's robotic space missions. Moreover, while other NASA centers focused on astronauts, JPL was sending rovers to Mars, and over decades, Hicks earned a reputation as a leading comet and asteroid expert. Crucially, his work played a key role in DART, when NASA demonstrated that it could knock an asteroid off course to protect Earth. Furthermore, through NEAT, he spent decades tracking asteroids and comets that could threaten the planet, placing him at the critical intersection of space exploration and planetary defense. However, neither his obituary nor memorials provided a cause of death, and similarly, no public autopsy record was ever found. Consequently, just as Washington was consumed by talk of aliens, one of NASA's most experienced observers was quietly buried. Then, 3 months later, NASA released its final UFO report, stating that it found no evidence that aliens or UFOs existed.
Based on our current findings and methodology, that we find no evidence to suggest that UAP are extraterrestrial in origin. And previous work from the ARROW has shown that most events are explainable as planes, balloons, drones, weather phenomenon, and instrument features.
In the months following Hicks' unexplained passing, the pattern of silence would continue, culminating nearly a year later with the equally puzzling death of another top researcher at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Nearly a year after the mysterious death of Michael David Hicks, another NASA scientist quietly died in Los Angeles. This time it was Frank Werner Maiwald, a longtime principal researcher at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. For nearly 3 decades, Maiwald had been a leading figure at JPL, developing advanced satellite technology used to study Earth and other planets. Then in June 2023, just 13 months before his death, his work shifted towards one of science's biggest questions, whether life exists beyond Earth. Notably, he was leading breakthrough research to help future missions detect signs of life on worlds like Europa.
The most exciting thing about Europa can be summarized in one word: water. Now think about all the water on Earth and double that. That's what we think is on Europa.
We need to go there to explore it, to understand, is this place a habitable environment that could potentially support life?
Enceladus.
There's a lot more to Enceladus than meets the eye. It's an active, icy world with jets of water vapor pouring out from its southern hemisphere. What would be incredible is a probe that could either make its way into Enceladus's ocean somehow, or at the very least, search the plumes for signs of life.
And Ceres.
The possibility of saline oceans existing beneath Ceres' surface leads to another fascinating proposition: that Ceres is currently in a state close to what Earth was like before life sprung forth.
Some of the most promising places in the solar system for extraterrestrial life. Yet quietly, Maiwald died at 61. Despite his role as a JPL principal, an honor reserved for scientists with exceptional contributions, NASA issued no public comment on his death. Moreover, no cause of death was ever given, and reports indicated that no autopsy was performed too. As a result, Maiwald's death passed with barely any notice, even as his work pointed towards one of the most profound discoveries in human history: the existence of aliens. Before US Army Green Beret Matthew Livelsberger's name entered this story, the American military was already on edge. Back in 2023, alleged Chinese spy balloons had crossed the US airspace with no clear explanation.
When one of these high-altitude surveillance balloons entered our airspace over the continental United States earlier in the month, I gave the order to shoot it down as soon as it would be safe to do so. The military advised against shooting it down over land because of the sheer size of it. It was the size of multiple school buses and it posed a risk to people on the ground if it was shot down where people lived.
And soon after, unidentified objects were shot down over Canada and Lake Huron as the Air Force scrambled jets. Even then, officials only offered vague descriptions, calling them small metallic balloons, yet pilot radio chatter showed that even those tracking the objects were struggling to identify them.
You can see something, I can't tell if it's metallic or what, and there's, I can see like lines coming down below, but I can't see anything below it. It's almost like a ionosphere, I'm going to call it a balloon.
Then in late 2024, just a year later, New Jersey residents began reporting large, bright drones hovering over their neighborhoods at night. And as the sightings spread, so did the fears that something more serious was happening. Although agencies said that these objects posed no threat, the lack of answers only deepened fears that secret technology or foreign weapons were being flied over America.
SUV-sized drones in New Jersey. Dozens of reports. Seen near military bases, armories, civilian areas, over people's houses, properties owned by President-elect Trump. The FBI says they've been investigating it for a month. A month? But many, like my next guests, say the response has been tepid. What could they be, and how is this so hard to figure out?
Either the government doesn't know anything, or the government is in a position where it's an embarrassment to the people of the state of New Jersey.
But while the public tried to guess, some people with high-level clearances claimed that they knew much more. One of them would attempt to send a loud public message. On January 1st, 2025, a rented Tesla Cybertruck drove up to the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas and exploded outside, killing the driver and injuring 7 other people.
This was the shocking moment a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside of Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. The blast occurred on New Year's Day shortly before 9 a.m., killing the driver who was inside the vehicle. At least 7 people nearby also suffered minor injuries.
At the same time, a separate truck attack in New Orleans raised fears that the 2 incidents were connected. And at first, the similarities were hard to ignore. Both suspects had served in Afghanistan during the same period, spent time at Fort Bragg, and rented their vehicles through the Turo app. Even so, investigators called the overlaps unusual, but not enough to officially connect them. Then attention turned to the Las Vegas driver, a 37-year-old Army Green Beret named Matthew Livelsberger, who authorities said shot just before the blast.
We also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle.
Inside the Cybertruck, investigators found fireworks and fuel as part of the explosive device, yet one detail stood out. Matthew's passport and military ID perfectly survived the fire, while his entire body was burned beyond recognition.
Among the charred items found inside that truck were 2 firearms, both purchased legally, a number of fireworks, a passport, a military ID, and credit cards. Investigators say the driver's body is burnt beyond recognition.
At first, the blast looked like an act of terrorism, until attention turned to a message that Matthew had sent 2 days earlier. Before the explosion, Matthew sent an email to Army intelligence veteran Sam Shoemate, who later read it aloud on the Sean Ryan Show. In that email, Matthew claimed that he had a top secret clearance tied to the US government UFO program, and on top of that, he asserted that the US and more recently China had developed drones powered by secret gravity-based propulsion. He then alleged that the late 2024 drone sightings over New Jersey and the East Coast were actually Chinese weapons launched from submarines. Finally, Matthew framed these weapons as the biggest threat to national security and described the Tesla blast as a wake-up call. Yet after receiving the email and the ongoing investigations, Sam Shoemate noticed several strange discrepancies. By all accounts, Matthew was an exemplary Green Beret with no known mental health issues.
Special Forces, he just got done with Team Sergeant time. He is a very qualified and very capable Green Beret. Everybody I've spoken to, his old team leader, who's now Lieutenant Colonel, said he was fine. Nothing out of place. His mental state was not something that anybody was concerned about. His ex-girlfriend posted photos of him bragging about how he got a Tesla and all this other stuff, so stick with me here.
Then after the explosion, Matthew's signal safety number allegedly changed. On top of that, Shoemate questioned why a Green Beret trained to build far more destructive bombs would only use fireworks and gasoline.
So he loads up a Tesla knowing that it's gonna, not explode like he wants it to with fireworks and a bunch of other junk, when he can make a car bomb that's going to level this place.
Then Sean Ryder added another strange claim, reporting that a military official told him that Matthew's DNA did not match his son's.
The PA officer, sounds like almost jokingly said, which I don't know why you would joke about this, said that, and between us, they wanted us to know, obviously, that the DNA with his supposed child was not a match. And so I think what they were trying to do is basically make this out to be, oh, this is why this happened. He got bad news that that's not his child, and so that's why he did it.
Taken together, these claims fueled speculation that Matthew might actually still be alive.
You get a Tesla because you know it can drive itself up to the hotel, the Trump Tower. You put a body in it, roll it up. It's already burned up, or it's already shot, excuse me. You don't want to kill anybody because that's not the message you're trying to send. You're not trying to level the tower or kill a bunch of people. So you load it up with fireworks and a bunch of junk to send a message. And we know that his signal number or his signal safety number changed. That can't be done unless you're inside that signal account and did what he did to send a message to expose his stuff, and he's still alive out there somewhere.
Even American UFOologist Dr. Stephen Greer suggested that the case was indeed linked to UFO disclosure efforts.
So he wrote this manifesto that they're trying to suppress like they do with everything else, but it sort of ebbs into this world. Is there any connection just between what is going to happen next week and what we saw in Las Vegas on New Year's Day?
Correct. There is. And that's what's going to be coming out because we have mastered gravity control for decades. And this is why many of the craft people see that they think is alien.
And he wrote about that in the manifesto.
And a year later, investigative journalist Ross Coulthard echoed parts of Matthew's claims, claiming that China's gravity propulsion drones blindsided the US and that the New Jersey sightings were meant to be a show of force.
The suggestion that is being put to me is that the Chinese have indeed made a huge advance in electrogravitic technology, and it's taken us by surprise, and that the United States has been caught asleep at the wheel. It was complacently, hubristically thinking that it was way ahead of its foreign adversaries, and in fact the big show that took place, notably I know it was reported mainly over New Jersey, the initial show at least was in part Chinese. And that what happened was the United States responded with technology of its own to muddy the waters. And so you've had this ridiculous situation where, if you believe it, they basically admitted that there's someone operating with impunity over the continental United States, flying so-called drone technology.
But nearly 4 months after Matthew Livelsberger died in Las Vegas, another scientist's name surfaced from the desert of northern New Mexico. This time, however, the name appeared on a missing persons poster, and soon the disappearance of Anthony Tony Chavez drew eerie comparisons to retired Air Force General William McCasland. Notably, like McCasland, Chavez had spent years working near highly classified government projects, and for 17 years, he had been a leading researcher at Los Alamos, the birthplace of the atomic bomb, and still one of America's most secretive research centers.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Einstein warned of a nuclear chain reaction in a large mass of uranium,
the splitting of the uranium atom,
which could lead to extremely powerful bombs of a new type, bombs that either side might develop and use.
According to reports, Chavez was physically fit and independent, but notably, he did not carry a cell phone. However, after a landline call on May the 5th, 2025, everything went silent, including his bank activity. 3 days later, his brother alerted his friends to check on him, finding his car in the driveway but no one answering the door. By the time the police broke inside, the house appeared untouched, with no forced entry, no blood, and no sign of a struggle. Curiously, his wallet, keys, and cigarettes all remained on the table, all things that the people close to him said that he definitely would have taken if he went anywhere far. And although Chavez loved hiking, there was no packed gear. Yet strangely, authorities waited 4 full days before issuing an official missing persons alert, and to this day, no reason has ever been given for this delay. In the weeks that followed, searches with cadaver dogs searching for his remains at his home, his sister's nearby house, and Pueblo Canyon all came back negative. Ultimately, in one of the world's most secretive research corridors, Anthony Chavez's disappearance remains completely unexplained. For decades, America had a rocket problem, and surprisingly, this issue wasn't a lack of engineers, money, or ambition. Instead, the problem was heat. because inside newer high-performance rocket engines, the conditions were so extreme and hot that ordinary metals didn't just weaken, they would completely burn and melt like fuel. At the time, Russia had developed metals that were actually strong enough to survive that heat that allowed these engines to burn fuel efficiently, creating more power and carrying heavier satellites. As a result, the US became dependent on Russian engines for nearly 2 decades to launch most of their critical military and intelligence satellites. But then in the 1990s, a breakthrough completely changed that. At Rocketdyne, Monica Jacinto Reza helped invent a new metal called Mondelloy. Unlike ordinary metals, Mondelloy could survive the brutal heat inside the new rocket engines. And even its name carried her mark because the Mon in Mondelloy came from her name Monica. By the early 2000s, her work had caught the attention of US Air Force Major General William Neal McCasland, who applied her research to high-tech projects like advanced missiles, space weapons, and experimental spacecrafts.
And she was a female scientist who had worked with General Neal McCasland under his command in the development of a super secret alloy called Mondelloy that is used in the construction of high oxygen rich rocket environments.
By 2024, Reza held a senior role in NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory overseeing advanced materials, but then on June the 22nd, 2025, Monica went missing. According to local reports, she had gone hiking near Mount Waterman with a male and female companion from her yoga group. Meanwhile, her car was parked back at one of their homes.
Today is April 5th, 2026. I'm at the 6,000-foot trailhead in the Angeles National Forest. This is the trailhead that Monica Reza and her 2 hiking friends started at on June 22nd, 2025. Unfortunately, Monica Reza didn't return. This is the beginning of the trail. Monica and her 2 companions obviously came up this way.
By all accounts, Monica was the experienced one, familiar with the area and in good physical shape. But a few hours into the hike, the group split up near a steep section and the female companion turned back alone. Then Monica and the lead hiker would press on towards the summit. During the ascent, shortly afterward, her last known photo was captured, taken just moments before she disappeared. By around 9:10 a.m., Monica and the lead hiker reached the summit and oddly begun jogging down the ridge. At her approximate last known position, the lead hiker was about 30 feet ahead when he called out about a northbound right turn. In response, Monica reportedly nodded and waved. However, moments later when he looked back, she was completely gone. From there, the lead hiker searched the area, alerted nearby hikers and called for help, but Monica had vanished without a trace. Immediately, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department would launch an extraordinary search.
To developing news tonight, the search is on for a 60-year-old woman missing in the Angeles National Forest. Monica Reza was last seen near Mount Waterman yesterday at about 9 a.m.
Well, the LA County Sheriff Department's Crescenta Valley Station and Montrose Search and Rescue have been working around the clock on this one. They say Air Rescue 5 and search and rescue teams from LA, San Diego, Ventura, Riverside, and soon Orange and San Bernardino counties are all out searching.
By the second day, scent dogs produced the first critical clue when they located Monica's beanie 600 feet below the trail in Devil's Canyon. Yet the dogs lost her scent at that exact same spot as the hat, and her trail vanished completely. Meanwhile, dozens of agencies combed the ridgelines with helicopters, drones, and K9 units searching for her, but by the 4th day, while helicopters swept the area, a memorial page appeared online listing Monica as dead. But even stranger, the page listed her death as the very day she vanished and claimed a green burial, even though a burial requires a body. By June 29th, 1 week after Monica had vanished, the case was transferred to the Homicide Bureau Missing Persons Unit. As a result, the emergency search ended, shifting the case from finding a survivor to uncovering answers in a murder. However, from the start, the investigation faced problems. Early in that search, officials confirmed that Monica's phone was being forensically examined, but no phone data was ever shared to aid search efforts. Then there was the lead hiker, Monica's yoga instructor, who initially said that she was 30 yards behind, but later revised it to 30 feet. He reportedly became controlling of the search, insisting that she had gone south and growing irritated when teams tried to search the north slopes. When someone claimed on Facebook that the lead hiker had removed Monica's battery, tossed her beanie and her phone, and only then reported her missing, after which the public Facebook search group had its comments disabled. Meanwhile, Monica's job may have complicated the search. Notably, her 2023 role at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory included a high-security government phone designed to safeguard sensitive information. Tragically, if her disappearance had triggered NASA security measures, the phone was remotely wiped, leaving it completely untraceable, meaning the phone data may not have been withheld by the Sheriff's Department, but actually erased by her employer to cover up secrets. Eerily, precisely 8 months after Monica vanished, that's when General Neal McCasland would also disappear under hauntingly similar circumstances. However, before that investigation even begun, another unexplained disappearance would occur in New Mexico just 4 days after Monica vanished. 4 days after Monica Jacinto Reza vanished on a hike, 53-year-old Melissa Casias dropped off a sandwich for her daughter at a cafe and disappeared too. Interestingly, she had worked at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, the very same facility where Anthony Chavez had vanished a month earlier. At the start of that morning, Melissa followed a familiar routine. She dropped her husband Mark at the laboratory, telling him that she was heading to another work location, and drove away. Before leaving, Mark reminded her that he would need the car back by 11 a.m. By 7:45 a.m., she was back home in Ranchos de Taos. She told her daughter Sierra that she had forgotten her security badge and decided to work from home.
Her family says Casias is an administrative assistant with Los Alamos National Laboratory and had went to work that day. They say she forgot her badge, which she needs for security clearance, and decided to work from home.
However, Mark later revealed that she had used her badge that morning when dropping him off. Around midday, she picked up a Subway sandwich for her daughter and drove to a cafe in Taos Plaza to drop it off.
At some point, she took a break and picked up Subway and dropped it off for her daughter, my cousin Sierra, at the coffee shop where she works in the Taos Plaza area.
But tragically, this would be the last time that Sierra would ever see her. By 11 a.m., Mark assumed that Melissa was caught up in work, but a call from her boss revealed that she had been a no-show all morning. While Mark couldn't reach her by phone, a text from Sierra was left on read without a response. Then, about 45 minutes later, Melissa was last seen.
This video is one of the last times Casias is seen. NMSP tells us the last place someone saw her was walking along State Road 518 in Talpa.
When Sierra returned home searching for her mother, she found Melissa's car and personal items inside. Both her government-issued phones had been left behind and wiped clean, either by Melissa, a third party, or remotely by her employer, perhaps knowing that she was missing in order to cover up any secrets that were left behind. But from here, a month later, doorbell footage would show her on the highway shortly before her family believes she entered a mysterious blue truck.
It's been nearly a month since anyone has seen Melissa Casias. Her stepdaughter says a doorbell camera showed Casias walking a couple miles away with a backpack, and she was last seen walking on a highway in Taos County about a month ago. It was June 26th. A family friend even saw her walking along the highway. He turned around to see if she needed help, but then all he saw was a blue truck driving by. No Casias. Her family thinks she got into that truck.
Initially, her family considered that she might have left voluntarily due to private struggles. However, her parents insisted that she wouldn't have done so. Currently, the New Mexico State Police investigation remains open and active, but eerily, the timing and unexplained device wipes tie Melissa's disappearance to Monica Reza's case and foreshadow the haunting mystery of General William McCasland vanishing. On October 25th, 2025, the quiet early morning outside Dayton, Ohio, will be suddenly interrupted by a tragic act of violence that ended outside of a police station.
On 701 South Miami Street. That's the West Milton Municipal Building that includes both the fire and police departments.
At around 4:22 a.m., 34-year-old Jacob Prichard pulled into the parking lot and opened the trunk of his vehicle before getting back inside and taking his life.
The officer reports seeing a vehicle parked there with the trunk open. When the officer approached, police state a man was laying on the ground, a handgun nearby. According to a statement from West Milton Police, he was dead with what looked like a inflicted gunshot wound.
When officers arrived at the scene, they would find his wife, 33-year-old Jaymee Prichard, dead in the trunk.
The officer continued to investigate, police saying they found a dead woman in the open trunk of the car. Police believe the two are married. Chief Wright says it was an isolated incident. There is no threat to the community.
And within hours, investigators realized that the case had started nearly 20 miles away because earlier that morning, Jacob had allegedly driven to the home of 25-year-old First Lieutenant Jaymee Sue Gustitus, broken in her home and killed her.
Now, around a half hour ago, we just wrapped up a press conference with West Milton's police chief, where he revealed to us that the death of a woman in Sugar Creek Township is also connected to this killing. Now, that third person, now identified as Jaymee S. Gustitus of Sugar Creek Township, who was also an active member of the Air Force, was reportedly killed that same morning at around 2 a.m. when Jacob Prichard allegedly broke into her home and killed her. It's unclear of the exact timeline of events, but authorities know Mr. Prichard took two separate vehicles and that he drove with his wife in the trunk to West Milton's municipal building.
Even more tragically, the first 911 call came after a neighbor heard banging and was threatened with a gun at the property.
Honey Tree Place, there was people out on their patio, a gentleman, and he was trying to get into their door. And I opened up my back door, and he said he had a gun to get back in my house, and he hopped off their patio and left. I didn't go out on my deck. I turned my light on. And I peeked my head out the door, and there was guys on her deck, and I said hello, and he said, "Get back in, we have a gun." And he jumped off the deck and ran.
Okay, wait, so how long ago
I don't want to go outside. Just right now, it woke me up. My condo door is right next to hers. The glass door is shattered. I think they shattered her door.
Then, later released body cam footage would make the first response even more troubling because neighbors greeted officers who arrived to investigate the suspicious sounds, frantically describing a serious threat and even showing officers a ladder that they later found would be Jacob's route into Sue's property that he used to get in there and kill her.
Right. He jumped from here and he jumped over the side here. Literally jumped over and obviously went running. I'm telling you, he jumped across like Spider-Man.
Sergeant Evans and the officers' body cameras showed a ladder that they would later come to believe Jacob Prichard put on top of an AC unit and then just managed to make it onto Gustitus' balcony. Another neighbor said she heard a man yelling during the banging.
Him yelling, "Let me in," it made me...
He came with a ladder.
Yet officers appeared to treat this like an attempted break-in rather than actually following up and going inside.
I peeked my head out and I said, hello.
Yeah.
And he goes, don't come out here, I have a gun.
The officer and the sergeant never seemed overly concerned, apparently believing that this was a break-in attempt and Gustitus was not home.
Did she say anything? Did you talk to her? So nobody has actually spoke to her then?
The police would simply call her, get no answer, and leave the scene without realizing they were leaving the scene of a murder. Even as the officers were leaving the scene, one woman asked them if they would be coming back.
One woman asked police a pointed question when they appeared to be leaving.
Likelihood he'll come back.
With that question being even more haunting because records still don't confirm whether Lieutenant Gustitus was even still alive when the police first arrived at the property.
The body camera videos do not ever show officers confirm that by getting on the balcony or forcing their way in her front door. Now, those officers left the scene and did not return for several hours, which is when Gustitus' body was discovered.
While police describe the case as domestic violence, no confirmed evidence of a love triangle has ever been released despite the rumors online. But tying it into this wider conspiracy, all three would be confirmed to have worked at Wright-Patterson, the very base where Neil McCasland had commanded for years before disappearing. But sadly, their deaths weren't the last, and from here, we would see more public and violent cases linked to secret technology and air bases. In December of 2025, Brown University's fall semester finals were shattered by a shooting in the engineering building that left 2 dead and 9 injured.
On Saturday, December 13th, a crazed gunman dressed in black stormed an engineering building at Brown University, killing 2 people and injuring 9 others. In a rampage which left the campus in a panic, a sophomore, Ella Cook, and a freshman, Mohammed Aziz Umerzakov, were named as the victims.
Disturbingly, witnesses said the shooter barked like a dog before vanishing into the winter afternoon.
There are some that say he made a barking noise. Don't ask me. I don't know why. And that's it. There is no other spoken word beyond that we are aware of.
Just 2 days later, about 50 miles away, MIT physicist Nuno Loureiro was found dead at his home in an incident that sparked concern among neighbors.
47-year-old Nuno Loureiro was a nuclear scientist and engineering professor. He was shot several times in the foyer of his Brookline home.
No one is in custody, so this shooter, it seems likely, is still out there.
Nuno's an MIT professor?
That's what I understand, yeah.
Nuclear scientist?
Is he?
Yeah, that's what it says on the website.
Oh, man.
What do you think about this taking place, sir? Right next to you. Brookline's not known for crimes like this.
Yeah, I think that it's really a surprise. And a shooting in a state where it's so hard to even have a gun? I don't.
Notably, Nuno's nuclear research sat at the direct intersection of free energy and advanced space programs, technology reportedly already in the hands of the government.
They've seen this plasma technology in action, at least specifically within the secret space program. So a civilian, by all accounts, at MIT gets close to discovering or harnessing what we already know we have, and therein lies the conflict. No.
And the question is, what had he discovered? What was he about to announce? And when you think of the fact that he was responsible for MIT fusion and plasma division, that opens up the possibilities to not just free energy. It has to do with so many things that he could have been just about to reveal. And thus, there's a good motive for silencing him.
but eventually investigators would connect the two tragedies under extremely suspicious circumstances. Investigators tracked the suspect after a former Brown University graduate student living in the school's basement at the time made a post on Reddit identifying his vehicle.
Now, how police were able to ID the suspect vehicle is all due to a homeless man referred to John in the affidavit. Police are crediting John for, quote, cracking the case wide open.
As it turns out, a post on Reddit helped crack the case. According to an affidavit, a person police referred to as John had several encounters with the suspect before the Brown attack. The tipster wrote that law enforcement needed to look into a gray Nissan with Florida license plates.
Using that tip, investigators traced this vehicle to a name and eventually obtained photographs of the person who rented it. Even before arresting the suspect, though, authorities announced a link between the Brown shooting and the MIT professor's killing 50 miles away. Despite the FBI previously claiming there was no link between the shootings, that same day, Valente was discovered dead in a storage unit and authorities publicly linked the attacks together.
48-year-old Portuguese national was found dead in a storage unit in New Hampshire earlier today with a inflicted gunshot wound. Authorities recovered firearms near his body and evidence in his rental car connecting him to the murders at both Brown University in Rhode Island and MIT in Boston, Massachusetts.
Remarkably, news outlets said Valente moved with the precision of a spy despite having no verifiable training, and Valente used multiple credit cards and international SIM cards in ways that police struggled to explain. Despite just committing a mass shooting, Valente had spent the day 50 miles away in Nuno's neighborhood before killing him in the evening. According to police reports, he arrived on the morning of December 15th in a grey Nissan Sentra. Valente parked on the street and moved like a ghost through the Brookline neighborhood, making several stops all within a mile of Nuno's home while the professor oversaw PhD qualifying exams at MIT. As the evening fell, Valente circled the neighborhood repeatedly, conducting pre-operational surveillance. At 8:22 p.m, a neighbor's camera caught him in a yellow vest carrying a box, a disguise that fooled Nuno's daughter into thinking he was a delivery driver. Then when the doorbell rang, Nuno answered and was shot in the chest, abdomen, and thigh in front of his daughter. After the attack, Valente drove off with the Nissan's lights turned off and later was found dead in a storage unit. Notably, Claudio Manuel Neves Valente attended Brown University only from fall 2000 to spring 2001 and reportedly disliked the quality of the education, people, and the food.
Watson remembers Neves Valente as a brilliant but frustrated student.
Basically, he thought the quality of education was too low, that he, moved from Portugal to go to a school with an education level that he thought was ridiculous. He didn't like the people, and he didn't like the food.
Then, police suggested that Nuno was killed out of a long-standing jealousy from the two's time together at a Portuguese university over 25 years earlier.
It certainly could be a grudge. I'd been hearing from folks that they had known each other, and that's certainly an avenue that has to be run down. There are also people who studied the same subject matter. A unique subject matter that's, interesting and a cause for concern. It took some resources to rent hotel rooms. It took some resources to rent cars. It took some resources to rent a storage unit. And this looks like pre-operational planning.
Nearly a month later, the FBI released Valente's confession transcripts while suspiciously withholding the audio.
I am not going to apologize because during my lifetime, no one sincerely apologized to me, the transcript reads. I honestly never thought it would take them so long to find me, Valente said in his native Portuguese, telling the camera that the man at Brown University who had confronted him knew his license plate number, something that was ultimately key in identifying him.
On February the 16th, 2026, the quiet calm of the desert was shattered when 67-year-old astrophysicist Carl Grillmair was fatally shot on his Llano porch.
Caltech was Carl Grillmair's professional home for the past 30 years. Here, his life centered on the science of the vast emptiness of space. But it was crime in the vast emptiness of the Antelope Valley that took his life. The 67-year-old astrophysicist was gunned down Monday on the porch of his home in the barren stretches of Llano, the middle of nowhere, which was perfect for his home-built observatory.
Immediately, the investigation escalated when 29-year-old Freddie Snyder, arrested just miles away for carjacking his own mother, emerged as the primary suspect. Critically, this tragedy appeared like a slow-motion collision that might have been prevented months earlier, because Snyder only lived 2 miles from Grillmair's property and had already been caught trespassing there 2 months earlier. Grillmair reported him to the authorities on December the 20th, and when deputies responded, they found Snyder in possession of a loaded, unregistered rifle. Although Snyder claimed he had just been walking to the post office, property records showed the post office in Grillmair's US home were in complete opposite directions from his house. And despite a weapons arrest and later accusations of attempting to escape, Snyder was released, and his charges were subsequently dropped due to him having no prior criminal record. But less than 2 weeks after those charges were dropped, Snyder returned to Grillmair's property, this time with deadly intent. Currently, Snyder remains alive and is being held at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility, but ultimately, he's the only known perpetrator in the UFO-related murder cases who is still alive, leaving behind a chilling reminder of how narrowly some of these tragedies might have been prevented. On February the 20th, 2026, the world of US intelligence was shaken when Donald Trump announced that federal agencies would be releasing UFO and UAP records.
The president is saying that he's going to direct the Pentagon, and he has already, and other government agencies to start releasing the government records related to alien life and UAPs. And it comes after former President Obama's comments about aliens sparked worldwide interest.
Just 1 week after this, retired Air Force Major General William Neal McCasland would disappear under very mysterious circumstances. Unlike many officers who enter the military later in life, McCasland had grown up inside the institution itself. Growing up in an Air Force family, he was the son of Lieutenant William H. McCasland and Robin Chambliss. And after his father was killed in a flying accident while he was still young, his mother later remarried another Air Force officer. And despite that early tragedy, McCasland would ultimately follow the same path into the military. After graduating from the US Air Force Academy in 1979 with a degree in astronautical engineering, he earned a prestigious Hertz Foundation scholarship that allowed him to continue his studies at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. There he completed a master's degree in aeronautical engineering before later returning to MIT to finish a doctorate in astronautical engineering. By 1988, he had defended his doctoral dissertation on fault-tolerant control systems for aerospace structures, research supervised by Richard Batten, one of the primary designers of the Apollo guidance computer. But while those academic credentials alone would have been impressive, McCasland's military career would take him far deeper into the classified world of American aerospace research. Following graduate school, he began working inside the Air Force Office of Special Projects at Los Angeles Air Force Base, an organization historically tied to highly classified satellite reconnaissance programs.
Richard Doty. I was assigned as a special agent with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. During my time there, my first few months there, I was briefed into a special access program involving the U.S. government's investigation and contacts with extraterrestrial, the visitation of these extraterrestrials to Earth.
And from there, he steadily climbed through a series of increasingly sensitive assignments across the Air Force space and intelligence infrastructure. During the early 1990s, he served at Buckley Air Force Base in Colorado as Director of Mission Planning for the Aerospace Data Facility, a major processing center for military satellite intelligence.
Maybe you've noticed those big white domes at Buckley Air Force Base. They cover giant satellite dishes used to track missile launches all over the world.
Then later in the decade, he returned to Los Angeles Air Force Base as chief engineer for the Navstar GPS Joint Program Office, the organization responsible for developing and overseeing the global positioning systems.
Everyone from pilots to first responders to everyday drivers on the road, an estimated 4 billion people worldwide rely on GPS.
Soon afterward, he was placed in charge of the Space-Based Laser Project Office, an ambitious program exploring the possibility of deploying directed energy weapons in orbit. And by the early 2000s, his career had taken him to Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico, where he helped lead the Space Vehicles Directorate at the Air Force Research Laboratory while commanding the Phillips Research Site, a major center for advanced aerospace research. Meanwhile, several of those assignments placed him in close coordination with the National Reconnaissance Office, responsible for operating some of the most secretive spy satellite programs in the United States. But McCasland's most powerful position arrived in Washington, when in 2009 he was appointed as Director of Special Programs within the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition, Technology and Logistics. And in that role, he became the Executive Secretary for the Special Access Program Oversight Committee. In other words, this was the body responsible for overseeing the most highly classified programs anywhere inside the US military.
General Neal McCasland isn't just one of the most senior generals in the US military, now retired. He's somebody who was cleared to the very highest levels of some of our deepest, darkest and most important national security secrets. He was for a while in charge of all SAPs, Special Access Programs. He was the liaison who handled the administration of SAPs, which is essentially America's deepest, darkest secrets.
But the final stage of his career would place him at one of the most important research centers in the American defense establishment. In May of 2011, McCasland assumed command of the Air Force Research Lab at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. In that position, he oversaw billions of dollars in advanced research programs covering everything from propulsion systems and directed energy weapons to advanced materials science and future aerospace technologies.
He then went on until 2013 to be the commander of the US Air Force's research laboratories at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And it's Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where most of the military's secret investigations into weaponry, aerospace, new technologies, new propulsion systems are done. It's a massive facility with extensive underground structures. General Neil McCasland ran the whole joint. General Neil McCasland has some of the biggest secrets in his head, not just about the UFO, UAP mystery. You can put that aside for one moment. He's cleared to top secret compartmented levels up to 2013 on secrets that still persist to this day about American weaponry, technology, space weapons.
By the time he retired in 2013, McCasland had spent more than 3 decades operating inside the most classified corners of America's defense apparatus. But according to some figures involved in the modern UFO disclosure movement, that career may have intersected with something even more controversial, because years later, leaked emails from the 2016 WikiLeaks release of John Podesta's correspondence would reveal that McCasland had been involved in coordinating discussions about UFO disclosure alongside figures like Tom DeLonge and senior officials connected to the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works program. And within those emails, DeLonge claimed that McCasland had previously overseen the very laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where the alleged crash retrieval materials from the famous Roswell UFO crash incident had been studied.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will. It's probably not the right parlance, but no kidding, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
Now, whether or not those claims were accurate or not, they ensured that McCasland's name would later become entangled in one of the most controversial corners of the UFO disclosure movement. On the morning of February the 27th, everything appeared normal. At 10 a.m, Neil McCasland spoke with a repairman in his property, and by 11 a.m, neighbors saw him walking near the home. Then at 11:10 a.m, his wife Susan left for a medical appointment, and when she returned 54 minutes later, the front door was unlocked and McCasland was gone.
Hi, April. My name is Susan Wilkerson. My husband is missing. Okay. And it's been about 3 hours, and I have some indication that he must have planned not to be found. He's left his phone, he changed his clothes into I don't know what. I left for a doctor's appointment at about 11:10, and he was here at that time at the house. And I got back from that at noon, and he was gone.
Inside, he left his phone, his smartwatch, and prescription glasses, while his wallet, hiking boots, and .38 caliber revolver were missing.
He's left his phone, he changed his clothes into I don't know what. I think he's on foot. All of our cars and bicycles are in the garage. He turned it off and left it behind, which seems kind of deliberate, because he's always got his phone. He has a smartwatch. I don't know if that's with him or not.
Immediately, investigators launched a massive search and reviewed footage from 700 homes, but found no video of him leaving or entering a vehicle. Then, drones, thermal imaging, and K9 units all searched the area in the Sandia foothills, yet even bloodhounds reportedly found no scent trail at the property line. In effect, it was as if he had vanished without a trace. Curiously, the case grew even more strange when people found his wife Susan McCasland's 2020 song about an owl-like partner disappearing into the universe. And even after he vanished, Susan herself would post a very strange update on social media, suggesting that an alien abduction seemed like the most likely explanation, though that there were no motherships visible. A very bizarre comment from the wife of somebody who just vanished. Even more mysteriously, an alleged McCasland-linked X account claimed that retired engineers stay on military bases out of fear of Boeing or Raytheon sending hitmen. This led some to wonder if this was true for Air Force generals as well. As of April 2026, the man who spent a lifetime guarding the government's deepest secrets is still missing. Before Amy Eskridge was found dead, she reportedly sought guidance from a retired general general that many believe was McCasland himself. Meanwhile, Monica Jacinto Reza's Mondaloy was allegedly tied to heat-shielding materials for several craft connected to McCasland's AFRL world. And while NASA-linked scientists Michael Hicks and Frank Maiwald died quietly, Neil McCasland has overseen data that may have put them at risk too. Even the Los Alamos disappearances happened near Sandia and Kirtland, where McCasland worked around sensitive aerospace secrets. Not all of these deaths and disappearances connect to each other directly, but McCasland connects to them all. And whether he was killed, warned off, chose to disappear, or dragged against his will remains the central mystery to this conspiracy. Because as the government keeps on teasing and moving closer to revealing what's really hiding in our skies, the experts who truly understand them continue to vanish from the ground. So it might turn out that the most dangerous part of the UFO mystery isn't the lights hovering above us, but it's really the people on Earth that are willing to kill to keep those lights secret. So, what's really going on? Well, right now, we don't know. I've been covering all of these stories and any of the new UFO murders and disappearance that have popped up on my second channel, Trap Moros, and we've been digging deep and really haven't found too many answers. This UFO disappearance story is something that we were covering early on that channel, but it's now reached the mainstream media with several major news outlets reporting on it. It's got to the point where even President Trump is being asked about these disappearances, and apparently the government will be looking into it. I personally don't know exactly what's going on, based between the three possibilities: that the US government is disappearing people that are revealing secrets, that aliens are beaming up people that know a little bit too much, or if foreign governments are actually taking out high-level scientists before they can develop technology that threatens their nation. I would probably say the last one is most likely. Could be the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, but in my personal opinion, I think the most likely scenario is that these people are being taken out or taken away by governments that are very scared of the technology that the US possesses. But until the government reveals the full files, we might never know what's really going on.